2021 Games of the Year. We made it to 2022. We survived. So it's time to do the annual tradition that we have here. So the only thing to really note at the beginning here is the only games I include on the main list on the big bit. All right, Steve, is the only games that I've finished in the year. So you might see some omissions thinking, oh, what the hell, where's this game? It's because I don't want to put one in unless I finished it. And I know that came up very importantly in the other year when we did Death Stranding, which went from like good game to absolute god game when I actually got to the end. So yeah, that's it. Otherwise, without wasting any time, without any further ado, we're going to go in. So let's go to number 10. Right, it's Picross Mega Drive Edition. And this is a game where it's like, I mean, obviously the last couple of slots are not like major Game of the Year contenders, but obviously you have 10. And I have to include this, despite the fact it's not like one of my absolute favorite games, because if you had to say the number of hours I've put into games this year, this is definitely up there, one of the top of them. Yeah, I think anybody knows what Picross is. It's basically like a puzzle game where you fill in, light and dark, try to match it. It's kind of like Sudoku, but it's this very own brand thing of it. And it's just a great way to unwind. Like if you need a chill game, you don't have to really think about anything. And the fact that they had a Sega one is just amazing. You get it's like animated GIFs of such deep cuts as well. Like they've got people from Crackdown and obviously stuff from Fantasy Star 4 that was good to see. So just a good like memory lane thing, and it's just a game you kind of need sometimes to wind down. So highly recommended, but obviously it doesn't compete with anything else really. It's just kind of its own thing. Okay, so that's our number 10, and all let's talk about on that one. It's just solid. Right, number 9. So Kuchichichi, however you pronounce it. This is a game that is probably not on many people's radars, and it wasn't on mine until some random post put us onto it. And if you saw the stream of this, yeah, the game is incredible. It's like it's a famous artist basically. I think he's kind of come to the end of his career, and he wanted to do a collaboration with some visual media artists in gaming and computing to put together kind of you actually walk through the art. This game was absolutely phenomenal. Like next year, I keep saying I'm going to do is I'm going to have videos of the stuff, but I was trying to put together all that at the last minute. It wasn't ideal, but yeah, definitely watch a video of this if you're not going to play it. It's like an indie game, very cheap, and you wander through like images that are all, it's like 2D but in 3D space. Like sprites that are kind of hovering, and they scale interestingly, and it's all based on his real art, which you unlock at the end of the game. You can see the real portraits and how well they came across. Just a dreamy, awesome experience. It's not like anything else. You really will. I can't imagine you wouldn't enjoy playing this. Although obviously it's not like hardcore gaming or anything. You're just wandering around. You have to avoid some enemies and collect some stuff, but it's like a visual art trip basically. So yeah, that's our number 9. Really glad to have that in there. So let's go to number 8. So No More Heroes 3. Obviously, there's waiting for this for a long time. This is obviously a big release that everyone's been asking Suda to do, and it was good. The thing is, obviously the fans were clamoring for more of No More Heroes, and it is that. Like it's not anything especially new or exciting. Like in each part of the game, you have to grind up money to then get to the next like interesting bit where you're fighting a boss and things. And a lot of the really odd things, off the wall things you'd expect from Suda are there, and some of them are really good, like especially towards the end, as you can imagine. But there's lots of things in it where it sets up stuff at the start of the game, which is like a lot of interesting bits, and they never seem to go anywhere. Like it's so off the wall and like out there trying to do all these weird different things that are not too coherent, which is fine. But some of them you're just thinking, oh cool, I can't wait to see how this goes into the plot, and it just never does. And it's like multiple things like that. So it's not quite as good now because obviously we've had No More Heroes years ago. Having that again now and hasn't really advanced, it puts it back a bit, so it's not quite as high as I was hoping it was going to be. But yeah, I mean, it's still a good time. I had the worst possible experience at the end because for the last boss, you have to fight these specific enemies, like random encounters out of like about 30. You have to do 3 specific ones, and I must have got the worst RNG in the world. I had to do all 30 or whatever, or however many it is. It's tens of them just to get to the last boss. So it was killing my spirit having to do all these generic random battles just to get to the bit I wanted to. I think that was just unlucky rather than something that's intentional. But yeah, again, check out some videos. The boss fights in this game are phenomenal, and that's the part that you will be excited by, basically. Right, so that's No More Heroes at numero 8. Right, let's go. Number 7. Narita Boy. This is where we're starting to get up in the quality levels here. Obviously, I mean, we're going up, but that's quite a jump. Narita Boy is amazing, and I'm shocked at how few people are talking about this game. It's one that it was on Game Pass, it probably still is, and it's just so beautiful. Like the art of this, it's like Tron, the game basically. You're this guy with like plasma sword, and it's kind of a Metroidvania, but a bit more linear than that, which is nice. You know, you don't have to spend quite so much time wandering around, but it really suited my style at the time. And yeah, just the art and the music is amazingly good. This is just a feast. Like every new area you go into, you're like, whoa, damn. You know, they've created like digital forests and waterfalls and things, like really my vibe, like a cool neon sci-fi vibe with and really good. And the ending, without spoiling it, it sets up some really good stuff as well, like very exciting potential for this franchise. So yeah, definitely check out Narita Boy. That's one that probably the game that was getting the least buzz that it should have, basically, I would say, in the game. Probably just released at the wrong time of the year. But yeah, please check out Narita Boy. It's brilliant. Alright, let's go on to numero 60. So Hitman Freeze. This is probably one of the more obvious ones that most people will probably have in their game of the year. It's one of those where it suffers a bit because it was released so early in the year, people just forget it existed, and maybe don't put it on their awards. But yeah, Hitman 3 is amazing because I'm not even a Hitman person. Like, I played the worst one, Absolution, a bit, and was just like, this isn't even that good. And I think I've seen like Giant Bomb play some of them, whatever, and I never really got into it. But yeah, with Hitman 3, my brother got it, and then I obviously played it after he finished it. And wow, it's actually amazing. I finally understand what's good about Hitman, and it sounds like a lot of good DLC for it as well. Excuse me. So yeah, just so many good inventive ways to off people in this game. And one of the things that really helps, I think, is probably there for new players. They would have like these storylines, so you would kind of guide you into doing cool deaths. Like there's one that's like you're hitting explosive golf balls at a guy, so it kind of leads you into that, so you don't have to be that creative on your own. It makes you realize, wow, there's a lot more different ways I can do this than I thought. So yeah, fantastic game, absolutely great. Well done, IO. Sorry. Right, let's move on to numero 5. So, Kena, Bridge of Spirits. Wow, this was a big surprise. Like, a lot of people, other people were like bigging up this game like before it came out, thinking, "Oh, it's gonna be amazing." And I thought that's fine. You know, it's very good-looking indie game. But I don't know. I just thought, you know, with the level of the studio behind it, it's probably gonna pale in comparison to, you know, like Ratchet and Clank, things like that. But I actually way prefer this to Ratchet and Clank. I never would have thought that at the start of the year. Like, I never really got on with that game, so don't expect to see that in the game of the year. But this is fantastic, a really emotional story, and like absolutely unreal level of CGI quality cutscenes when it needs it, like when you fight a boss and that. And the world was like big enough, but not so big you just feel like you're wandering around all the time. Like you know, it's small enough that there's stuff to do that's interesting everywhere, but it's still a big game. Yeah, amazing. I'd definitely say if you were like me and you just thought, oh, this can be alright, it's a hell of a lot better than that. It's absolutely amazing, and like my best kind of 3D platform I've played in quite a long time. So yeah, really, really surprised and impressed by Kena. Right, let's move on to numero 4. So Inscription, yeah. So this is the one where a lot of people, again, will have this on the game of the year. It's one of the ones where you really don't want to say much about what the game is, except to say, when you go in, it feels like it's a roguelike card game, which I actually really don't like. I'm so tired of them now. Like, I played a couple, and even ones that people say are amazing, like Slay the Spire, I just check out. I just had enough of infinite roguelike games. I'm more of a narrative game player. So I wasn't interested. And on the same front as well, this guy, the first game he made was Pony Express, which is insanely good, and I recommend that. I think that might have been in a game of the year. Fantastic game. But then the next game, the Hex they made, was just not good at all. It was really surprising. Like, it just fell off in a major way. And I was like, oh, damn, this is a good creator. I don't know what they did there. But now they're back with this. And boy, yeah, I can't spoil it, but it's not just a roguelike card game. It goes places you would never expect. Like, it does things, meta things, that you've probably never seen any game do before, and it does it multiple times. Like, there are a lot of, it just goes so crazy towards the end of the game. I want to say, it's not a card game, basically, is all I can say without spoiling it. But yeah, insanely good game. That's it. Again, it's a game where I like that, where there's nothing else like that. There isn't even anything comparable that tries to do the kind of things that Inscription's doing. So wonderful game. All right, let's move on to number 3os. These are like absolute killer games. From 3 onwards, they're like, you must play these. They're phenomenal. So another game which is getting like not enough buzz is obviously Ghost of Tsushima. Came out before and I loved it, but the Iki Island expansion is insanely good. It's probably the best DLC in like 5 years. It's ridiculous how good the DLC is. Again, it surprised me because I thought, I'll just get the upgrade, because I've already got the game, and maybe I'll check it out. And boy, like, considering you finished the main game, you think, well, they're not going to make it that interesting because you've already done the main story. This is just like a little addendum. But the stuff it does is all the stuff you would wish it to do. Like, it messes with your mind, like what your perception of the events were before. It plays with the fact that, you're this like warlord now. You're obviously amazing at it. And it just, all the side content is incredible, and all new things that weren't happening in the base game, basically. and like you get to play a flute in a cool way. You got all these animal companions. It's unreal. I 10 out of 10, best DLC for ages. So there's an amazing bit when there's like a shipwreck you're having to climb on in the middle of the ocean. Yeah, unbelievable. I never ever dreamed it would have been as good as that. So yeah, Icky Island, a game that's not getting enough shout out because people just talk about the main game, but it's way better than the original. So yeah, check that one out. Right, there we go. So top two. So we've got a big one coming up. So we've got It Takes Two. Yeah. So up until recently, I thought like this is actually won like the Game Awards Game of the Year, and boy, yeah, for the 90% of the year, I thought this is definitely gonna be number one. Like it's just an absolutely phenomenal co-op game. It's way longer than you would ever think, and it's constantly introducing new good ideas. Like it's not where it's a long game, but it builds up, and then you're kind of just doing the same thing. You start flying around, you go into space. You've got probably 10 plus really good mini games in this that you can play co-op, and the story is really cool. There's one really horrific scene in this, but that's kind of the Hazelight. That's kind of their thing. Like in Brothers, there was like I think I actually cried in that game. It was so insane how like emotional they try and make you get. And what was the next game after that? A Way Out. Okay, it wasn't quite as emotional, but yeah, this has got a really dark scene in it as well. Just worth knowing because it looks like it's for kids, but boy, is it not. And another shout out needs to be said in this game is the audio, like the voices for some of the characters. There's like a Gov character, which is really good, and there's this insane monkey character. Yeah, they knocked it out of the park. This is a clear 10 out of 10 game, and it's absolutely must play as long as you've got anyone to play it with. All right, so what's at number one? El Shaddai. No, I put that in there, but it's not number one. I had to put that in there because this is the 1 year where I can make that joke. Because obviously El Shaddai is our game of the forever. Anybody who's watched any of these Game Awards would know. But they re-released El Shaddai last year rather than 2021 on PC. So play it. That's not my real number one. But after that, it is Guardians of the Galaxy. Right? Yeah, the biggest surprise of the year by a country mile. Like watching the trailers of this game, I just wrote it off completely. It just looked not trash, but completely generic and like do not need to play this game. It's just, we've seen Avengers, wasn't very good. This doesn't look any better. But my God, yeah, one of the reviews came in, and the fact that Richard Jack did the soundtrack was like, okay, I need to play it because he's the best composer literally in the business. And oh my God, yeah, I could just talk forever about this game. It's basically, they tried to combine the best things from God of War and Death Stranding, which is two of the best games of the generation. Obviously, it's not better than both of those combined, but it has all of the best voice acting and like script in a game I think I've ever seen. Like the amount of voice acting and how often it's genuinely really funny, and just makes you feel like they're real characters. It's crazy how well they did it. Just for a really long game in the vein of God of War, where it's much longer than you would even ever imagine it would be. And like the graphics are phenomenal. All the different like areas, loads of different enemies. I love the combat. I know a lot of people didn't, but the combat is like it's like Tony Hawk in where at the beginning you're just shooting a bit, and then towards the end you're having to do so many commands. You're like, oh, this character needs to do this, so I have to hold this bumper and press this. Then there's a contextual thing in the environment. I've got to hit that. I've got my own power I need to hit now. Then I've got to do active reloads like a Gears of War. Then I've got to send my other character to do this. Like it really feels like you've got better and better, and you are like the actual leader of the Guardians. And you're sending them to do all these things, and you have to if you want to survive. Like it really is amazing. And then yeah, some of them really emotional. I actually cried. I can't believe I'm saying that about this game. Like Guardians of the Galaxy game that looked like garbage in the trailers. It was insanely well done, emotional. One of the most amazing boss fights I've ever had in my life. And there's a bit near the end which is like a really good story thing, and it looks like they're going to try and kind of outdo Death Stranding. That's like, without spoiling it, but they didn't quite manage that because Jesus, that's like the best ending in video games like in a long time. But yeah, even the fact that I'm actually bringing it up in the same breath as that tells you like just how much it affected me. Like, and the other thing about this makes this game more my style, like compared to God of War and Death Stranding. The music is all like 80s music that I absolutely love. So the soundtrack of this game is just head and shoulders above everything else for me personally. And obviously the kind of humor that the Guardians have, like you have to kind of be into that because it's just a whole game. But it was, I felt last time a AAA game made me laugh out loud. It's not usually occasionally an indie game, but yeah, I mean, I cannot recommend highly. Unreal, like clear 10 out of 10. It's not a game of the generation, but it's not that far off. Like if somebody said they thought it was, I believe. All right, so then after the top 10, we now have like the best of the ones I haven't completed. So games that I would think would probably be on this list, but because I didn't complete them, I didn't put them in. So we've got Shin Megami Tensei 5. Wow, that game is awesome. I've played it a hell of a lot and still not near the end, but it's a lot more accessible than the other SMT games, which are basically almost impossible. But at the same time, it gets harder and harder, and now in the point where it very much resembles an SMT game, where it's like, damn, this is extreme challenge, and just all the better for it. You have so many good options in that game to kind of try and overcome what's coming up against you. Metroid Dread, I don't know. This one is one of the only ones that I didn't know if I was going to put on this list, where it's good. Like the start of it, I was hooked for like a few hours. But it's so funny because I heard a review from someone where they gave it their game of the year, and they said, "Oh, it's so good for me because it always kind of made you go in the right direction, but despite the fact it's a Metroidvania and you kind of could go anywhere." But that's the exact opposite of the experience I've had. Like after about 3 hours into it, I just kept getting lost to places. You think I'll just explore this and try and find some cool stuff, and then it's like, oh, you couldn't go that way. An hour into like going all the way across the map, it's like, oh, and then you don't have the power to go further. So you have to go all the way back. And it just got worse. Like as you go on, there'll be like, you look like you can go between zones, but then there's teleporters that take you through different ways. So it's a good game. It plays very well gameplay wise, but just it got lost more than in any Metroidvania. If you like that, that's fine. You're just trying exploring, but you seem to be wasting a lot of time. Unless you genuinely know where to go. So I wish that was better than it was. But after playing Hollow Knight, it's like the quality of Metroidvanias has got to the point where it's like it's very difficult to outdo a game like that, and they just weren't able to do it. Baldur's Gate 3, fantastic. Obviously, it's a shame it's so short at the moment. Like they haven't put in much of the content. But what's there is like Divinity Original Sin 2 is amazing. Like it's crazy how like situational some of the things they put in the game are. Like the one that happened to me is there's like we're in an enemy's base and one of the enemies is like, oh, you've got a bear, like we can't have that in here. So to have a bear in the game, you have to choose a ranger like subclass. That's like a niche thing. Then you have to pick a certain part of it that lets you summon an animal, and then you have to pick bear. So the fact that they put in unique dialogue for that is ludicrous. It makes you wonder how much other like very niche things are in there that relate to exactly what you're doing. I love it. It really is. All this. It's basically the same gameplay as Divinity Original Sin 2, so if you know that. And then the last one, which I've only just started playing like towards the end of last year, Artful Escape, which everyone seems to be talking about right now. And boy, is it good! Yeah, this is a Game Pass game. And it's kind of like a game where it's just an experience. You walk around and you jump and everything, but you're not challenged by anything really. You kind of just walking through environments. But the art, for one thing, is incredible, like the quality of it. But also, wow, I'm very gassy. Sorry. But the actual like substance of it as well is mind blowing. You're going to like galactic areas, and like the idea as a character in the game is having its mind blown by all these visuals. But so are you. Like it really, the imagination put into the game is really incredible, and it's just a good like escape, I guess, into like just another world that you're just enjoying it for what it is. I don't know what the story where it's going to go, but yeah, really enjoyed that. I'm trying to think, have we got any other slides here? No. Oh, what's going on? No, that's back. Hang on. What do we have any more? I don't think so. Oh yeah, then we've got this is the El Shaddai Award basically. So this is fantastic games that you should play that obviously came out before 2021, so they don't go in the main list. So if this came out in 2021, this would be my game of the year. I got into FF14 early in the year, and I've played right through to Endwalker, and holy crap, this is so my jam. Like I never wanted to get into an MMO because I knew I'd put too much time into it, but damn, yeah, unreal. Even in ARR, I was absolutely mind blown with the amount of things you can do. I'm not like an MMO veteran, so I don't know what they're normally like, but Jesus, yeah, the story is phenomenal. Heavenswood is like one of the best RPG stories I've ever played. I actually preferred Heavenswood to Shadowbringers. I know a lot of people don't, but bloody hell, there was some serious stuff going on in that, and it just all set up so well and paid off so well. It's one of those games where once you played it for a few hours, like I probably played it like 300 hours just to do the story, you get used to like trusting them where things will happen in the story and you're like, oh god, that was like out of nowhere, or this is stupid, it doesn't make sense. But you kind of have that in you that you're like, well, I trust them, they're obviously doing this for a reason, it'll pay off later, and it always does. Things that are like Deus Ex Machina, later on they needed to do that and then they show you why that happened. It was just they really care about getting the story right, and sometimes you just have to trust them, and you get rewarded massively. And then obviously I'm doing some raiding now as well, so yeah, really 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 cool game, can't recommend that highly enough. And then we had 2 El Shaddai Awards last year, and we've got 2 this year. The other one is the most niche game that almost no one would A, know about, or B, have the hardware to play or the situation to play. But basically, Affordable Space Adventures, a Wii U exclusive, so obviously almost no one is interested. And it's really only best played with 3 players exactly. So it fit our scenario perfectly, but amazingly good game. Like as far as when you're playing a co-op game and all 3 of you need to be in sync exactly, like you need to be all on top of your game and like interacting with each other and communicating with each other. This game is incredible. Like it just aced that for the whole way through. Like really really amazing gameplay as far as how to co-op between people. I couldn't believe how good it was. So yeah, no one's talking about it for good reason, because how many 3-player groups have you got, and how many people are playing on a Wii U? None. But yeah, if you have a chance to experience it, it's a hell of a lot better than you'd imagine. Like the picture there's not, like the art for it was not very good in the marketing. The name isn't very good, but yeah, it's kick ass. So I recommend it. Right, give me a sec. Right, so that's that's the end of the first part of the stream. What we're going to do this year is, how do I do that? Right, I've got a. I thought, I don't know if anyone want to go through all this, but I'm going to do a TierMaker of all 70 games that I finished this year, regardless of when they were released. Because I thought, why not? You know, it's a good laugh. If anybody is interested, that's cool. That's up to them. So we're going to go into that now. So let's get onto the TierMaker. Right, so can I do this without breaking everything? Right, so here, obviously these are the categories. We've got like the, Hall of Famer, excellent, all that. So let's have a look. So first game is I've played a lot of Master System games this year. I've been like streaming a lot of retro games. So Enduro Racer is actually really good on the Master System. Like, I was surprised. The thing you need to know about Enduro Racer is, if you get a chance to emulate it or whatever, definitely complete this game. Like, there's no way in hell you will understand or know what the ending in this game is going to be. It's crazy. Like, you're basically a normal arcade game where you're racing a motorbike isometrically up the screen. It's got like 5 levels, very easy to complete. But the thing you get at the end of the game when you complete it is unfathomable, and it's amazing. It's probably the greatest ending in that era, like back when it came out. Obviously not now, but yeah, check it out on YouTube if you haven't seen it. It's insane. All right, so next one's eSWAT on the Master System. So this isn't that great. It's a shame, because eSWAT on the Mega Drive is actually so amazing. Like, I think it's better than the arcade. So yeah, mega recommend that. But on the Master System, they just weren't able to do that. There's not like jetpack or any ooze, or it's very straightforward levels. And the bosses are really bizarre. Like, you fight like Conan the Barbarian and things like that, like stuff that doesn't make any sense. So still all right, but yeah, this isn't going to be getting. It's not worth playing maybe, but yeah, it's not great. All right, so Fantasy Zone on the Master System. Yeah, this is a good game. I think it's probably well known that Fantasy Zone is great. Played it a lot on a challenge this year and actually completed it at last, so that was nice. Yeah, it's one of those games where once you know what to do, like 90% of the game is fine, and you kind of probably not going to lose any lives. And then the last boss is so broken it just kills you all the time. I had like what I was considering like an exploit with a certain weapon on the last boss, and even with that, you've probably got a window of about 1 second to press the button to kill it, and if you don't, you're dead. And I don't think there's any other way to beat it. It's really crazy. So yeah, good game. I don't know if it's necessarily excellent, but it's worth playing. Okay, so Ghost of Tsushima. This is the Iki Island expansion. I couldn't find the image for it, but yeah, unreal, absolute masterpiece. And yeah, I've said everything I'm going to about that, but it rocks basically. Okay, another one straight into another absolutely killer game. So Divinity 2, yeah, finished it this year with a group of friends. Playing it with 4 players obviously is the best way to go. And yeah, unreal. Again, it's so good in the amount of things that you will do that are very specific. Like, I'll move this barrel here and I'll blow it up and it'll set fire to this, and then it will interact with the enemy's shielding in this way. There's so much niche thing. You can play it in so many ways, and obviously as far as dialogue goes as well. I really like the dialogue on this, because in Baldur's Gate it's very, very, very wordy. Like, playing that multiplayer is a bit of a slowdown, because everyone's got to read like 10 options, and you think about, oh, which one of the 6 are we going to do, and it'll go on for ages. With Divinity, they kind of mastered it for the multiplayer, where there's not much text. It's well written, and it's still great as an RPG, but they don't bog you down with that as far as multiplayer goes. So yeah, that's, again, people always rating that game 10 out of 10. They're not wrong. It's just unreal, even better than Baldur's Gate. And think about how crazy that is to say as far as that genre goes. Dusk. Okay, yeah, this is a huge favorite on stream. It has Big John as a boss, which is basically the best boss name ever made. Amazing FPS, way better than I thought it was going to be, and that was I think it's like David Szymanski. Once we played that, I had to start playing his other games, because it's just that good. Like, everyone kind of has agreed now, Dusk is a huge. It's almost like the Doom of the current generation, like sort of retro FPS, but with I don't know. It's interesting. Like, loads of people make retro FPSs, and it's trying to get it to feel like as good as Doom. No one does that, but with Dusk, it was as close as anyone's going to get. I think it really just felt amazing to play. All right, so Demon Souls on the PS5, like the upgrade one. Yeah, again, that's not surprising. That's excellent. I love From Software games. Can't wait for Elden Ring. And Demon Souls, it wasn't like amazing, because I played it on PS3. Obviously, I already know the whole game, so you kind of not getting that interesting, surprising element you would get like when you played it for the first time. But it's still good, and obviously it looked incredible, and it just felt incredible. So yeah, it's hard to put that below excellent, despite the fact it's not as good as it was to play it the first time. Again, this is a really good horror game stream we did. Steve will probably attest to that. Devotion. It's a game that was banned for a while, because basically it's made in Taiwan, and it very slightly criticizes China, and obviously that's not, you just don't do that. Like if you want to release a game because China just crushes you, so they banned it for quite a long time, but it finally got re-released this year, and it's really, really good. Like mental headspace game where I think you have to like remove one of your eyes. It's got a lot of very dark stuff, but it's not all like that. It's just some interesting like time travel kind of stuff going on. Yeah, very cool. And again, it's one of those where it's really not like anything else. It's obviously a horror game's first person perspective, but it has its own vibe. I mean, current games in Taiwan, I guess you'd expect have a little bit of a different viewpoint, and yeah, it really pays off. It's great. Kuchi again is great. I don't know actually out of these two where it's going to go, but I guess worth playing. Yeah, because it's not really a game, so I can't really say it's like you wouldn't want to go back to it. Basically, you just play it and experience it. Cool. It's kind of like Radiohead's thing, where it's like an art gallery you go into. That was actually a really good game as well. It's not a game. I didn't really think to put it in because I don't know if I finished it. I probably didn't. I don't know how that works. But yeah, the Radiohead Amnesia thing is like that, and also be in the same place. It's very good. Right, Call of Juarez Gunslinger. This was a nice surprise as well. Call of Juarez. I think the originals were just not very good, if I remember rightly. I didn't. But someone said, oh yeah, the Gunslinger one is a lot better. It's done by a really good team, and it's actually really, really good. Like I'm not a massive Western fan. Like I'm not a Red Dead Redemption fan. That's one of the controversial gaming opinions, I guess. Like Red Dead Redemption 1, I think it's trash. I tried to play it like 4 times and just couldn't get into it. 2 actually does seem quite good, but I guess I'm just not a big Western fan. But this game does it. Like the actual gameplay is so arcadey and actiony. It just feels amazing to play. Like you're putting your bullet time in, dashing behind like crates and that. And the duels are really interestingly done. Like finally seeing a bit of like cool like boss action. Where you're trying to duel an enemy. That's really well done. Yeah, lots of explosions. It's just very arcadey and like rather than trying to be too serious, it's just like feel good game. So yeah, so Affordable Space Adventures surprise automatically in all Hall of Fame. That game is amazing. That's the 3-player game we talked about on the Wii U. Probably the only Wii U game I put in there, I think. Haha. Okay, so yeah, Dreadex the Hunt. Yeah, this was disappointing, unfortunately. I might even put it. No. The game it was quite good. Like this is the one where we're in like the frozen ice center and you did some mini horror games. But the reason that it's really disappointing is because we played a lot of the games I can recommend, which is Haunted PlayStation Demo Disc. That is really cool. It's free and it's like a collection of like 20 mini horror game demos. Even though they're demos, they kind of give away a lot, and there's loads of them. Whereas Dreadex, a game I actually paid for, I thought it's kind of like that, but you pay for it. It was quite a lot, for a mini games collection like 15 quid or whatever, and it's not even close to as good as the Haunted demo. That's why I've really was a bad taste in my mouth because the games are good, but almost none of them were as good as the free ones. So I'm like, oh no, I can't be buying these again. So that was disappointing. Yeah, playing that in a vacuum, you might rate it higher, but off the back of Haunted PSX, it was a shame. Fear Effect, yeah, this one is all right. Like I like the scenario of the game. I think it's going to go in average, but it's very trial and error gameplay. We got stuck at points where it's just ridiculous. Like the puzzling in the game is very weird, and it never really went to the place I was hoping it was going to go with the supernatural. Like it did a bit, and then it kind of tailed off. So I like it. I don't know if it's worth playing. I don't think so. It's just a bit under what I was hoping from it. We played a lot of good RE type games, and this one just didn't quite make the cut. Okay, surprise. So I think, no, each expansion is separate. So A Realm Reborn, that's going to be excellent. I really loved it because I haven't played any MMOs. I think a lot of them don't think it's that great, the original one. But the twist at the end of the story is one of the very best moments in the entire Ever 14 canon. Is the end of IRR, and just sets up the future of the game amazingly. And I just loved all the side scenario activities. There's so many when you get to level 50. It's crazy. There's just they used to do like hard dungeons. There was tons of them where they don't really do that anymore so much. That was overflowing with content. Amazing game. What's this? Oh, Flat Heroes. This is one. It's a multiplayer game I think it's on Game Pass. Like a 4-player game where tiny cubes, you jump around, very actiony, and you got to clear screen by screen all the enemies. I actually really enjoy this. I don't know. It depends who you are. Like it fits our profile of multiplayer couch co-op and just like trying to beat each stage that's nearly impossible. You get like 20 chances at playing it. Hopefully you get through one stage, then you can come back and do the next one. That was a really good game. I don't know. I don't think that's excellent. It's not M++ level, but still very good. Okay, so Dead Space. No surprise here. Automatically Hall of Famer. But having said that, like you might think, Dead Space is a Hall of Fame automatically. But going back to you might think, well, it was amazing then. An incredible game that's like almost not create a new genre, but a sci-fi RE genre. But does it hold up? Because it's quite old, but it absolutely did. It's not even like we played a remaster or anything. It was just the original, and it still looked amazing. It felt amazing. The audio is, some of the best in the industry. Yeah, crazy how long it is as well. I forgot how long the game was. It just keeps your attention the whole time. Yeah, insane how good that game is. Even now, it's like a 10 out of 10. It hasn't lost a step, you know. All right, so EDF 5, man, I love EDF games. They're just in my heart forever. Like it's just playing co-op on these games is amazing. Me and Jim, my bro, used to play like a lot of two-player, and now we can start play online and play like 3 or 4-player on EDF 5. It's just brilliant. Trying to bash your head against like near impossible odds over and over and trying to beat them with different setups is cool. It's just a really, really fun game. Global Gladiators is pretty average, like quite a short platformer on the Master System. The tie into McDonald's is ridiculous. It almost has no like impact on it at all. You know, it's just two people firing guns at things. Like I don't know why that's got anything to do with it. Like what was the game we just played? Oh, Marvel Land probably has more of a tie into McDonald's than this because you actually collect milkshakes and fries. Like this is bizarre, but it's still okay. You know, and it's just an alright platformer. Wow, Dark Messiah, this is another big surprise. I think I just randomly saw a video of this online and bloody hell, it's incredible. So this is one of the ones that is in my new intro, not the intro we just saw, where you can boot everything. You basically boot enemies physics-wise off cliffs, into spikes, into fires. It's almost a Hall of Fame quality. Like the game, you know, couldn't recommend it without reservation because it just is so funny. Like you can just set up so many comedy scenarios where you're kicking enemies into traps and stabbing them and stuff. You're just having an absolute blast in that game, except for the last boss, which is hell. But yeah, you're not playing in any serious capacity at all. You just like romp around and kill enemies in the funniest way you can. It's kind of like a prequel to Bulletstorm, which is an odd thing to think when it comes to with a name Dark Messiah and Might and Magic. It sounds like it's an RPG or something, but no, it's very much a Bulletstorm game, but without guns, which is odd. Right, GP Rhino on the Master System. So yeah, again, a lot of Master System games they have a hard time holding up, which is fair enough, really. Like Monaco GP, pretty good. Motorbike Racer, one of those things where I finished it like in one go without even trying, so it's kind of obviously very easy. Yeah, not a lot to say about that. It just looks like your Monaco GP but on a bike, and not. The presentation was actually very good for the time, but it doesn't exactly elevate it above. Heave Ho, yeah. So this is a good co-op game. I don't think it's necessarily excellent, but we had some good times with this. This is where you control the arms and the grip of your character, like they spin around, kind of thing, and that's all you can control. And you kind of swing yourself, trying to swing your allies across gaps and over moving obstacles. Like really, yeah. Yeah, exactly. We got killed at a hell of a lot in this game. It can drive you mad when you get near the end and you die. Have to go back to the beginning. But yeah, you get llamas fighting at you. Very weird sense of humor in the game, and just yeah, it's a good time for multiplayer. But it's not up there with like the M++ and the Towerfalls of this world. Heavensward, yeah. So absolute Hall of Fame. It just as on its own, it's basically like 10 out of 10. You know, RPG that it should be playing regardless of whether you like an MMO. It's unbelievable how good the story is in that. I can't. You know, the main plot of the story is phenomenal and pays off incredibly. But even the B plot's just got my favourite character, Ardbert, in it, and his introduction and the stuff going on there. It's just wow. It does absolutely everything. You know, better than even the other expansions. So M-Walker's got a lot to live up to as far as that goes. But yeah, Heavensward's insane. Wow, what is this game? Oh, Hitman 3, just with a weird picture. Hitman 3 is good, yeah. Is it going to be excellent? I think it's going to be there. This might make no sense compared to my top 10, but yeah, Hitman 3 is good. It's definitely worth playing. I don't know if it's excellent just because I'm not, you know, a big Hitman proponent, but definitely worth playing. That's a very difficult one to put in, actually. Half-Life Blue Shift is cool. Yeah, that was all the Half-Life games. It's very short, but all the Half-Life expansions are good. And this one's cool. You play as the like Barney, the security guard. So you're kind of the amount of weapons you get and what they are is different, and the way you're viewing the story. The soldiers are kind of on your side, and then they're not. And yeah, it's good. It's just always good to see the other sides of the conflict, like you do in opposing force as well. So yeah, good game. Good game. Eliza, yeah. So this is kind of it's all right. I got recommended this. This is like a VN basically on the PC. Um, the setup is quite cool. It's like AI therapists or whatever, and you have one, and then you work for the company, and there's a lot of like interesting dialogue. It's quite highbrow, like high concept dialogue about like the mind and AI and stuff. But it never really paid off in any major ways. It never. I kind of figured that like halfway through it, but I thought I'll finish it in case it changes up. But it's fine. Like there's some really good VNs out there, and that's not up there with them. That's for sure. Call of Duty Cold War, that's actually really good. Like I don't play any of the multiplayer, so this is not what it's about. Like don't think about that when I'm rating these. But the campaign was actually really cool. The graphics they've got nowadays on Call of Duty games is insane for the single player. Some of the best out there. That and also what's the other one? Vanguard is really good as well. My brother played through that, so it doesn't count on here, but it was really cool. I'm still happy with the campaigns. So I'm disappointed that Battlefield doesn't have a campaign. So yeah, okay, wow. So this is one of the big misses of the year. This is bizarre. This is it's kind of if you've ever played Nidhogg and then you're like, oh wow, this game's amazing, and then they release Nidhogg 2 and it's just absolute trash and kind of ignores everything that was good about the original. That was a ludicrous thing that happened, and the same thing happened to Axiom Verge. I couldn't believe it. Like it's one of those games where Axiom Verge was so good. I absolutely love it. It's like an old Metroidvania that's very much like Metroid more than a lot of the other ones. Kind of cribs from it quite heavily. So it was so good. I was like, this is one of the few games I'm just going to buy immediately on release. I won't even need to look at reviews. I just want to get into it. Did that, and it's trash. It's insane how much they've like left behind everything that was good about Axiom Verge. Like the music is all worse except for the ones that are remixed of the original, which obviously makes sense that they're all right. The character is trash. It's actually meant to be like a sort of Jeff Bezos character, like even in the lore, it's like a billionaire who's not very good. That's your main character, and the sprite turns into like a weird grey thing later on, which is maybe a spoiler, but it's garbage. The combat is a joke. I probably died like twice the entire game. Some of the bosses towards the end you actually can't die, which why am I even fighting them? Yeah, and then after all that, you kind of build up your powers, and then it's like you don't even get near the end. Like it's just a cliffhanger, for, like a build for Axiom Verge 3. I can't. That makes me so annoyed. This game, easily the most disappointing game of the year. I just don't know how they did it. It's shocking. Okay, so Paprium. So this is a great surprise game. It's a shame it wasn't higher than it is. So Watermelon Games I love, and I backed before Kickstarter even existed. I think there was just on their website you could back. Pia Solar was like an RPG on the Mega Drive. They wanted to release an actual physical cart back when that wasn't a big thing. So I got that, and that game's amazing. And then off the back of that, they wanted to do another game. This is Paprium, which is like Streets of Rage. But it was supposed to be 4 player. Sadly, it isn't on release, but that would have been good. But basically, everyone lost faith because it was years, and they hadn't. Basically, you lose contact. You think, oh, it's like Kickstarter where they've taken the money and gone, and you didn't hear anything. They didn't bother giving updates. And then years later, this is probably like 5 years after it was announced, it just appeared in the mail one day. I was like, what the hell? So I actually got the game. And the funniest thing about this, it's probably something you've never seen in a game before, because they knew they hadn't told anybody it was actually existed. You get it in the mail before it like gone to any review or anything. Put the game in. The first time you put it in, the game is trash. It's like a really bad version of what it actually is. Like, terrible sprites. The sound is horrible because they were trolling you. They obviously it's what a bizarre thing to do, but they obviously thought people will think, oh, we've run away with the money and just given them trash, so we're going to do that as a joke, and it was insane. I actually was annoyed. I believed it. Once you play it to the end of like the one stage like that, when it boots up again and it's the actual game, like what a crazy thing to put in a game. You have to actually put the effort in to make it trash, and then you get the real game, and it's actually really good. It's not better than Streets of Rage 2. I mean, and that's a big ask. Like, just is any Streets of Rage 4 is not better than Streets of Rage 2 as far as I'm concerned. So can any developer do that? I guess not. But some of the music is really good, and it's definitely worth playing. It's good fun. Unfortunately, it's not a glitch, but an exploit where when you're using the fire extinguisher, it never breaks, so you can just clear every level with that, which is a shame. But yeah, actually, really good game. But if you want to get it now, it's probably a ridiculous price. So it's kind of no one's going to actually bother. But oh no, have I got the stream so I can't see the things now? Uh-oh, I'll have to scroll down a bit. How does it work? Is it good? Okay, that's not too bad. Right, so George Foreman's boxing. So this is actually a surprise. Like, obviously, I'm not a boxing game fan. This is just a game I got as part of a bundle on the Master System. So I thought, why not play it? And it's actually really good. Like, I can't think of any other boxing game I've ever played that was fun. It's just not my thing at all. And you're only going left and right and doing hooks and block and uppercut and stuff. But yeah, just presentation was cool. He eats a cheeseburger in the game, which is good. You put your stats in and stuff. You fight all the different boxes of the era. It's actually as good as it could realistically be, an 8-bit boxing game with the sort of games that I like. It's way better than I would have expected. So, and I played it enough to finish it. It was that good. So yeah, well done whoever made that. Was it Flying Edge? Right. So, this is a random one. Yeah, Densha to Go. I don't know why I got into. Oh yeah, so Densha to Go. It's like a train simulator they have on a lot of platforms, but they had it in VR on PS4, and I just thought, you know what, I could do with another VR game, and this is a really bizarre one. You get to be in a train, and it's good. It was actually much better than I was expecting. Yeah, so really quite a cool game. You're just driving a train. You have to go faster, go slower, do signals. So it's not going to be for everybody. Like, it's not that exciting. But yeah, the VR mode is really cool. So gets up there. Right. Okay. So Icewind Dale. So this is one we went back to. This is the remaster that they came out with. It's got its issues. Icewind Dale. I think it's probably a bit average because I don't know if the original had a lot of bugs, but the remaster does, and there were literally game-breaking bugs where it would just lose. We couldn't continue. We had to get someone to go into the files, try and hack some of the variables in the game without breaking it, so we can continue. Loads of items would go. You'd try and transfer an item, it would go missing. Like enemies would disappear. There's so many bugs that kind of ruined what was a good game. And Icewind Dale was never one of the best Baldur's Gate games. It was just like, quite a good one. So that's a shame. It was fun because we were playing with four of us. Obviously, that makes any game better, but it's a shame it didn't really live up to even what it was before. So it's like a GTA remaster, basically, where they actually make it worse. Bugsnax absolutely just was not a fan. I finished it, which is a waste of my time, sadly. When PS5 came out, that was one of the games that was available at the beginning, so that's what I put the time into. But just not my vibe at all. It didn't. There's one interesting bit near the end, but just not. It's kind of like Pokemon. You're trying to catch monsters, which I also not a massive fan of. So yeah, it just did not vibe with me at all. Breakdown. Oh man, this is hard. This is one of the hardest ones to place. It's going to be around here. I don't know. I'm going to make it worth playing because it does a lot of interesting, cool cinematic stuff. This is a first-person shooter, but also you do a lot of melee brawling. That's kind of your best moves on the original Xbox. And it's a really long game. It's kind of going for that Half-Life vibe. You go through a whole complex, go to an alien world. It's cool. And a lot of interesting cinematic stuff. But towards the end, you've probably seen it on stream, one of the most brokenly difficult games in history. Is so brutally difficult. Some of the normal encounters at the end where checkpoints are hugely spread apart, and enemies can just instantly stun lock you and kill you, and then you've got to fight the end boss, which is a huge undertaking, about 4 forms of boss or whatever. Just it was horrifyingly difficult at the end. But yeah, and it's not like amazing at any point, but it's good. It's like I say, it's worth playing. Makes sense. It's just very interesting for the time. I don't think many people played that game. Right, Immortals Phoenix Rising. This is absolutely amazing. Like I actually prefer this to Breath of the Wild because I'm not that far on Breath of the Wild to be honest, but I just love the Greek like background. Like God of War, and it's so colourful and like good, vibrant places to go to. It just felt like a good time. Good like kind of humor, not like mega funny, but they kind of had a bit of mocking the old Greek tales and things like that. Good characters, like loads of good dungeons. Obviously in Breath of the Wild you don't want that many. I mean there's quite a few, but it just felt like there was tons in this, and they're really cool. Lots of challenges. Yeah, just the power up system was actually really good and relevant. You wanted to do it. Yeah, they did an amazing job with the Immortals. I don't think they got quite the shout out it deserves, but people do know it's good. Right. Obviously, Impossible Mission on the Commodore. Hell yeah. I love the art there as well. It's really good. That's the somersaulting spy game on the Commodore. A game which I'd never finished before and I really wanted to. Because basically you have to collect all these passcodes. And then they're all like weird silhouettes and images you have to combine to create an image. And it's really, really hard. And you're on a tight time limit. Trying to do that part of the game after you've done all the platforming is just brutal. But so really good to finish that. It's not quite excellent. I think it was when it came out. I probably would have said it was, but it's kind of obviously nowadays you got all your other platforms. It's got some frustrating bits in it. But yeah, good game. Aha, right. Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade. Oh, this is a tough one as well. I think this is going to be an average. The graphics and the audio in the Master System game is amazing. Like much better than I would ever have expected. Like some of the stuff they can put out on that system is shocking. But they obviously focused on that. So the actual gameplay, like the level design is not very good, and like it's brutally difficult. Like to the point where it's unfair. Like sometimes you come up with an enemy that has a gun, so you only have a whip. Obviously, you're indie, you don't have a gun, and I think they're supposed to shoot you once from a distance, and then you can close the distance and hit them. But sometimes they just get stuck and shoot like 10 shots, and you have no chance. You can't duck, and that's not even in the game, so you just die. So yeah, the checkpoints are fair, but yeah, it's just some weird broken difficulty in that game. All right, our Inscription, obviously amazing. Yeah, that game really, really good. We talked about that. There's not really much else to say. In fact, I don't want to say anything else to spoil it, but yeah, really good game. Intrepid Izzy, yeah. So this is cool. This is a Metroidvania, new Dreamcast game that came out. I think it came out before last year. That's why I didn't put it in. But yeah, Metroidvania basically pretty simple. It's obviously the people doing indie games on the Dreamcast. It's not like your massive studios, but they managed to do all right. The music's fine. Like there's some quite interesting scenarios in it. You've got these different suits that give you different powers that like mostly make it a Metroidvania. It's got a minecart section, so it's got it ticks a lot of boxes, but it's not really going for anything like amazing. It's just like a game that's worth playing. It Takes Two, surprise. Let me just move up a bit. Sorry. That's for Foreman again. We don't really need to talk about that. The game rules. Kena, excellent game again. We've already talked about that. Right, okay, so Maquette. So this is another game where it's surprisingly unfortunate. You get it on PS Plus. Again, I don't know why I went to finish this game, honestly. It's a game where the principle is really good, and they actually put a lot of effort into the graphics as well. It's just I don't know why they didn't do more on the gameplay. But you're in like an area where it's obviously the normal scale for a person, where you walk around and the doors are normal size and everything. But you can like pick up objects, and then when you put them down, it will like, if it's perspective, it will create like a massive version of it. So you put it in the close to you, or if you put it far away, it'll be like a small version of it. So obviously it's really interesting because you can create like a huge step or like a small building or whatever and stand on top of the building, and you have to use that to do puzzles. But it's so woolly, they obviously had that idea and programmed that, but to try and make it so that it makes sense, like, and that you can't glitch the game too much, but you can do interesting things. It didn't really focus on that. So you'd have bits where you obviously meant to jump over this wall, but you have to just keep jumping and crouching a bit, and then jump left a bit and move 2 pixels here. And it was just, you always think it was doing things wrong because it was so weird and exacting to try and get things working. And then obviously the only other problem is when you've got areas where they're massive compared to what you started in, you're normal size. So when you're walking on the floor, it takes a lot longer to move the same distance because you're much smaller. So you have sections of the game where you go to a place, you're like, oh god, so I've got to walk miles, even though it's only a small distance in the normal world. It's kind of hard to explain without seeing a video, but they didn't think about what would be fun. The concept exists, but the gaming part that makes it fun, they kind of gave up on it. It's just some weird bits. So I've no idea why I went to finish that game. Obviously I just did. Oh, cool spot. Yeah, so this is actually a good platform on the Master System. Wow, I'm actually dying from talking here. I wonder how many more there are. Right, excuse me. So yeah, cool. You're playing as the Dot from the 7-Up drinks. It's like another tie-in, which is very weird. But you can shoot in 8 directions, which is cool. It makes you much more capable than a lot of your old platformer types. And I think you can take a number of hits. Some really difficult jumping puzzles in this, but yeah, really, really sound. It's one of those games where I wanted to finish it, like keep plugging at it to finish it because there's interesting levels. It does end in a very weird, like you go to, you've got like 4 different levels you go through. Then there's some more levels where they just use the same graphics from the other ones, so you think, oh, that's weird, I guess. And then you just go to this random level that's just about quite a small level. You do a bit of jumping, and then it's just the end. It's like, oh well, that's the end of the game. So it feels like they just ran out of time. It didn't have a climax or a logical difficult stage at the end. It was just some random weird stage that you'd seen before. So that part is a shame. But yeah, actually really good fun to actually control Cool Spot and shoot everybody. Oh yeah, MDK2. Yeah, this is a game which in the past I probably would have said is excellent, but there's some things that hold it back nowadays. Some really obtuse level design, and you get lost a lot. It doesn't hold your hand at all. There's some very confusing things, but just the quote boring is like something that's stuck in our head since it ever came out. Really interesting bosses, very like alien designs in this game. It feels like the people who made the game are thinking in different ways. Like some of the ways you deal with puzzles, the very off the wall humor. Wow, I'm dying here. Just yeah, very different vibe to a lot of games. It's kind of its own thing where the team have made it. Obviously, you've got very specific ideas about. They're not following other gaming trends and that. You switch between like a shooting section, then like a parachuting section, then you're like building objects and things. Yeah, really cool. I like MDK2 a lot. At times it would have been excellent, but it's been held back a little bit by the old technology in the game and the not know where to go half the time. Yeah, Blood Omen 2. This is a shame as well. This is one where we've had a great time with Legacy of Kain series. Some of the games are phenomenal, like Soul Reaver, obviously, and Soul Reaver 2 as well. I thought it was brilliant, and some people don't rate it as much. But Blood Omen 2, they said obviously it fell off a bit, and they're not wrong. Like it's playing as Kain is cool. Like his voice lines are really good as usual, but it's just not. It's like a backward step from Soul Reaver. You kind of want to play this before you play those because the quality level has dropped back again. It's a shame. There's not much of an open world. Lots of really long linear stages, and some of them are really good, and some are just like very rote, like, oh, you've got this new skill, so you use the new skill to open the door, and then you walk through the door. There's some very like mechanical, gamey things that are not that exciting, and then there is some good story and some really good speech. But yeah, it's a step down from the really good Legacy of Kain games. It might even be the worst one. I think I might prefer Blood Omen to it, just because it was very bizarre. And obviously Soul Reaver and Soul Reaver 2 are amazing, so they're better as well. So we've just got Defiance left to play after that. Okay, so Metal, what's it called? Metal Wolf something XD. Oh, Metal Wolf Chaos. That's it. Yeah. So this is a bizarre game. I can't remember who did it. It's a Japanese studio. I don't think it's From Software. It's one of those where it's like one of the known teams before they were famous. It's like a parody of American culture. So it's really good at parodyizing. like propaganda. Like it shows loads of American news footage. It's a really good game to watch a stream of, I would say, or a video, where it's comical how it get on the nose it is about, like, oh, USA #1, and that's like you're playing the US president in a mech suit with loads of guns, which is amazing. Like they do a great job with that, but the gameplay is really unbalanced. Like you can be just storming through a stage and no problem kill everyone, then one enemy comes around the corner, shoots you in the back, and you're just suddenly dead, and you're like, what the hell? You have to do it all over again. That happened a lot during the stream, and then the final boss is just an absolute headache, where it's a tank, so if it touches you once, it's like as if it's run you over, even though there's no way that would happen, like if you touch it on the corner or on the side. So you die, so you've got to stay away from it, but it's firing missiles and they're almost unavoidable. Like it's really unbalanced final boss, we did finish it, but Jesus Christ. Not enough bees. Yeah, where's Bioshock? I haven't finished that yet, but that'll be on here for next year. But yeah, it's a really funny game. I definitely recommend watching this rather than playing it. You'd have a lot more good time with it. Blair Witch, yeah, this is a bit. I don't know if it's a no-no. It's a bit of an average game. Like it, people say that about Bloober Team. Like they do some really good visuals, like some cool stuff in here with like the mind and what's it called? Observer is better than this. They do a really good job with that in like the visuals. But playing it you're lost in the forest a lot, which okay, yeah, that's Blair Witch. That kind of it fits the profile. So that's what you would expect, but I don't know. There were a lot of playing it was just wandering around. There's not even any threats or whatever, and the puzzles are there's not really any good ones I can think of. But the on is good. Like the visuals are really really well done. But there'll be large parts where you see, if you watch me stream it, it's just like almost a black screen, and you're seeing some shadows and walking around. But it's not scary. It's just boring. You're walking around the forest. So I mean, with a game called Blair Witch, there's only so many things you can do. I don't know how they would have made it amazing, but yeah, it was a little bit disappointing. Moonwalk on the Master System, yeah. So that's actually really good. You play Michael Jackson rescuing kids, so I mean, I don't want to talk about that, but what a bit of a weird one to have in. But the actual, obviously, the music is good, even on the Master System. They did a good job with the music. I got the licensed tunes. The stages are cool, like you're throwing your hat, obviously enemies, things like that, which is what you'd expect. The only problem with it is the final boss. Like all the normal stages are just platformers, like side-scrolling, what you'd expect. And then the final boss, you're playing first person. It doesn't explain any of this. And there's enemies shooting missiles at the screen at you, and you have to suddenly work out, what am I supposed to do? Like it's not at all like the rest of the game, and it never explains how it even works. So I think I did the last boss about 20 times before I killed him. But yeah, I still don't really know how I did it. Very strange choice of last boss, but I guess they wanted to. But yes, the music machine, right. So this is a game where this is a bit different from Max Verge 2, where this is a game going in, I knew it wasn't going to probably be that great, but it's the same guy who made Dusk, so I wanted to play his other games. But they did say this is more of a like slow psychological horror rather than a big bombastic FPS like Doom, and it is, but it's got some weird themes, man. Like it's like your main character has like killed a young girl, and her ghost is talking to you and stuff. It's like, why do I don't want to be this protagonist. It's weird. Like some of the stuff they talk about is weird. So it's might be an oh no. I can't recommend playing it just because you're okay. It's interesting. Mika. Oh, hi guys. All right. Good on you for watching. Nice one, dudes. Shout out to Calm Rio and Steve. But yeah, so it's nice when games can go to different places you wouldn't expect. Like, you don't all have to be like this great hero, but it's like he's killed this girl, and it's never like apologetic. It's kind of just weird. Show us the top. Oh, what this? Oh, the top of this. Okay, sorry. All right, like that. Yeah, so Music Machine is like, it does what it's doing. Like, you can't complain. That's what the game wants to do. But I don't want to be that protagonist, and it's quite short, and you don't really. There's one interesting bit near the end where you meet this like weird cosmic entity, but the rest of it is just not a thing for me, I'm afraid. I'll come back to the top in a minute. I just need to pick up another game off this. Probably should have zoomed out on the thing, shouldn't I? If I thought about it, I didn't realise. Right, so Narita Boy, obviously very very good game. Let me just move it up. So we kind of already discussed that, so no reason to. Ninja Gaiden on the Master System. Wow, yeah, really good. This is one of the best Master System games, which is funny because I didn't know until now that it was even on the Master System. Obviously, Ninja Gaiden is a very well-known NES game. Like, I think everyone would assume it was the NES game you're talking about. But the one on the Master System is not the same game, and it goes the opposite way with difficulty, where the game is hard, but you have infinite continues, and you just start on the level you're on. So it's just fun romp, basically. You're going around, obviously slashing everybody. You get killed a lot, but you can just restart. So for the 8-bit era, having something like that where you have infinite credits is shocking. Like you never expect it to be that user friendly. And just good varied levels, all the forests and city and stuff that you'd expect from Ninja Gaiden. Just a different take to the NES one, and really fun. I'd say it's one of the best Master System games that came out of nowhere. That's because I didn't know it even existed until this year. No More Heroes 3. Again, that's we've talked about that on the top 10. It's good, and it fits what people mostly want from No More Heroes 3, but it lets you down in some ways. Kind of reminds you of Deadly Premonition 2, where it does that, like, oh, we're talking to the fans here by making a similar game, but it didn't go forward enough to make it great. What's this one? Oh, OK Normal. Yeah, not a big fan of this. This is a horror game we want to play. We play a lot of one-off horror games, and to be honest, most of them are very good, like surprisingly good. This is you're walking through like really weird psychedelic stuff, and there's like, isn't there voices coming at you? It's trying to be like, it's kind of try hard, like, oh, let's make this really odd imagery and make it like scary, but it doesn't. I don't know. It might be average. It's not a good game at all. Basically, I can't really recommend anything about it. We thought it was going to get really good, and it doesn't. It's just weird for the sake of weird, which is something obviously you can do if you go too far. Oh, Elijah. This is a game. This is so close to being in the top 10. This game is really good. It may even be excellent. It fits the profile of the kind of Metroidvania I would like to play. Outside of Hollow Knight and La Milana, which are the two best, like premier, let's say, Metroidvanias. Elijah is one of those short ones. Loads of indie people make them, and it's really cool. Like you play as pirate, you get like you get a grappling hook, and you get really interesting a spear. You can retract it. It's like Scorpion. It's really cool. Like the pixel art. I recommend looking at an image of this or like a video of it. It's got its own style. It's kind of like not Super Brothers Sword and Sorcery, but a bit like that. And yeah, just a nice world. You're pirating. You have to go back to see your old man at the docks. You come back to your own town. You go out and find these keys. You need to find it. The length is about right. There's a cool stealth level, which is actually good, even though stealth can normally be a pain. Yeah, did a great job with Elijah. It's very, very close to being on the top 10 actually. Great game. What's the name of that publisher again? Devolver. They're putting so many good games out at the moment. It's insane. That's one of them. Right, Olympic Gold, the Master System. This is crazily good. One of the games, like, I would actually, it's basically sports game simulator. You play like 6 sports, like archery and swimming and that. But like the graphics are really good for the Master System. Some of the best on there, especially archery, is crazy good. And it's one of the games I would actually come back to and play more. Like, that would actually go into my current games rotation probably. And I can't say that about most Master System games. It's just one of those, you don't expect it to be a kind of a forever game. But yeah, shocking. Olympic Gold is way better than it has any right to be. It's a game that's actually worth buying on the Master System now. All right. Oh, Pitball. Yeah. So this is okay. Like this is a game. It's a 4-player. It's like Speedball 2, but obviously not as good as that. It'd be higher. Like on PlayStation 1. And it's like Speedball 2, but you can play 4-player. So I thought that's cool. We can play a 4-player game with that, and it's fine. Like it's got really weird rules. You've got to put in like Street Fighter combos to do your fighting bit, which doesn't really fit with you walking around an arena in 3D. The arenas aren't as interesting as I'd hoped, and obviously it's PS1, so you're not exactly amazing 3D polygon graphics going on. But I like it for originality. Like a 4-player Speedball 2 game on the PS1, it's probably the only one that exists. So it's fun, but I really wanted it to be a game we would keep coming back to, but it's just not going to be. It's not good enough. Ratchet and Clank, yeah, this is a weird disappointment. I was shocked. So many of the AAA Sony games are right, on my vibe. Sort of, I love them. Like, God of War, even Detroit. People don't like Days Gone. I thought was really good. But Ratchet and Clank, yeah, I can't believe it. Like, you play it. It's like at the beginning. It's like, wow, this obviously looks absolutely outstanding, and it's fun to shoot enemies. I wonder what these different weapons are going to be. But you kind of get into the weapons that you like. You get some new ones that kind of either do the same thing or they do something that you don't think is relevant, like burrows into the ground. And then you just have so many arenas where you're shooting enemies. And to its credit, the difficulty is pretty good. I thought it was going to be too easy, like in the battles. It wasn't. But it just goes on and on and on and on. And in this stage, it's actually not a good thing. Whereas, in a game like Guardians of the Galaxy, the fact that it's long is really good because it's all interesting and different and good. But in Ratchet and Clank, although the graphics were blowing you away a lot, it just felt the same. It was, another arena where I use my shotgun for this, then use my grenade launcher for this. I was shocked. I thought I was going to be, mind blown. And the story's fine. Like, there's people think the story's really good. It's like pretty generic. Obviously, for a kids' film game, that kind of story, it's like, accepting your faults and things. But it's never really that high quality, like the storytelling. I was really surprised by that. So, okay game, but I don't really that interested. Robocop 2. This is brilliant. I wonder if it's even going to be excellent. Nah, this is the one Game Boy game we streamed this year, but it's a good one. Damn, yeah, like quite big sprites. You're going left, right on the platforming and shooting. You get jetpack. Like the bosses are really, really good. Like bosses in that are way better than I think most Game Boy games would have. Like cool, loads of they have like 6 or 7 different attacks you have to work out to defeat and stuff like that. Really cool. Yeah, Robocop 2 is a very good Game Boy game. Even now, it's recommended. Actually, you'll have a good time with it. All right. Sackboy Adventures. Yeah, that was cool. I don't know if it's excellent. It's probably a kind of in between almost. That's the problem with these TierMaker. That's the whole point, isn't it? You have to try and fit them in. Yeah, Sackboy was multiplayer, like basically Super Mario World or 3D World or whatever on the PlayStation. And the music stages are what stands out. Like, uh, yeah, great to play in co-op, like 3 or 4 players. And the music stages are like, you have actual David Bowie's got a music stage. I think Madonna's got one where like was it brother sister, I don't know, they have a lot of like major songs in it, and they really they try and sync them up to the actual what's happening there, they try and sync them up to the level, the music, and it's really cool. It kind of reminds me of in Rayman Legends they did that, where they have music stages and they sync really well. It's like that was a shock. And obviously a lot of different kinds of gameplay. You get your jetpacks, you get your grappling hooks, you get your guns. You can throw each other to do things. Yeah, really cool. I like the specific levels where they're for co-op, where you have to have multiple people so you can interact. Yeah, good game. I don't know, man. I think that might actually be excellent. It really is good. Um, Shining Force 3. Wow, yeah. So this is an automatic Hall of Fame. It is the greatest SRPG of all time, and it held up so well. Like criminally, when I played Panzer Saga this year, oh wow, did I not put that on there? I'm gonna have to put that in myself. Um, it's still great, Panzer Saga. The music's phenomenal, but it didn't hold up quite as well. There's loads of bits where you're kind of just wandering around aimlessly. It's kind of another game where it doesn't show you anywhere to go. So it wasn't quite as good as I remember, even though it's still very good. But Shining Force 3, on the other hand, was phenomenal. It might be even better than I remember. It's absolutely kick-ass SRPG with so many options, weapons and magics and equipment and everything, and just really good battles. I love all the incidental dialogue. Yeah, killer. That is the greatest SRPG ever made. So we hope to be doing the part 2, scenario 2 of that this year. Well, we definitely will be. So good. Silent Hill Downpour. Yeah, this is. I think just worth playing on Silent Hill Downpour. Yeah, it was good. But people said obviously Silent Hill fell off after Silent Hill 3 and 4. And they're not wrong to an extent, but I actually really liked Shattered Memories. I thought the twist in that is really good. Apart, there's no combat in it, so obviously it does drop it a little bit because all you can do is run away. But the twist in that was really good. Whereas Downpour, it kind of went more towards the actiony thing, and the open world is kind of, I didn't like it so much. It's kind of squandered. There's loads of like little side quests, but I didn't feel like Silent Hill to me. I didn't bother doing most of them. It didn't feel right. But the other world stuff, where it does obviously the hell dimension or whatever in Silent Hill, that was incredibly well done. Like the world's rotating. There's loads of weird imagery. Like they did a brilliant job of rendering the alternate world, but you only went there a few times, and it's mostly like chase sequences through there rather than too much gameplay. But yeah, a good game. But Silent Hill is such a revered franchise. Putting in just a good game doesn't get you much credit. Like people will be sad because they want an amazing game, and it wasn't one of them. Right. Oh, Silent Hill Shattered Memories. Yeah, so I don't know, man. This is a very hard one to think. I don't think I'm going to put in excellent, but um, this is the PSP one, and it's basically one of the best twists, basically, I would say, in Silent Hill at the end. It really caught me off guard and got me. I think a lot of people probably will be able to predict it, but yeah, very very cool. Basically you're playing like this dude. I can't remember his name. Is it James? And you're going around. It's like an ice and snow version of Silent Hill, which is cool. And then you've got this section where you're in the like doctor's office, the psychiatrist, and he's asking all these psychiatry questions, which is cool. And it all ties together. It's really brilliant as far as like the actual original plot or whatever and script for it is great. But it's on PSP, so that obviously you're not expecting like amazing graphics and audio. And the, there's no combat at all. I know you're not in Silent Hill for combat, but it's nice to be able to at least be able to use like an axe or something and just try and fend for yourself. Whereas you basically have scenarios where you've got the normal game where you're walking around, then suddenly it's a bit where you're running away from enemies, then it's back to the normal bit, and that's not very Silent Hill to me. It feels weird to have the two things separated the way that they were. Shadowbringers is obviously amazingly good. Like this is one of the greatest MMO expansions of all time. Like extremely long expansion, like crazily long, longer than most normal RPG, I think, and just so many places you go and so many different things that happen. It just, yeah, really, really freaking cool. And I haven't even seen any of the raids yet of Shadowbringers, but yeah, amazing. Yeah, I think the only reason it's not as good as Heavensward is people bigged it up so much to me, like I am now, that obviously it could never compare. Like on my, I was like, oh, that's great, but I was kind of expecting everything, the world from this, and it didn't do that. But it's still very, very, very good. Silent Hill Homecoming, which is this is the war one. It doesn't look like it from the picture. This is the one where you're coming home from the war and you're the bloke, aren't you? This is not the Origins, yeah. Yeah, that one's just worth playing as well. It's good. It's got the really good bit with the motel when you get to that. And the fact that I can't remember too much of it kind of tells you. This is another one where Silent Hill does very well, where one-on-one character interactions, like the graphics for the characters' faces and everything, is good throughout the whole series. It's very good here, and there's some really creepy and good like acting from the mum and from most of the characters you actually interact with in this. They did a great job with that. That's every bit as good as Silent Hill 3, for example. But the actual game is fine, but it's not doing anything. The twist's not as good as Shattered Memories, and the combat's fine. And some really hard bits. Running away, normal running away in the fog in the town, but it's good. But it doesn't quite reach the heights of 3 and 4 and 2, obviously. Shinobi on the Master System, really good game. This is another one of the best. I guess ninjas on the Master System is the thing to do, apparently, because Ninja Gaiden is so good. Extremely good, and even good today. Like, it basically just feels like arcade Shinobi to me, where you're jumping around, ninjas are attacking you all sides of the screen, you're rescuing dudes, getting your power-ups. Yeah, brilliant game. It's no wonder Shinobi became such a big thing back then. It's like, yeah, even the Master System version is fantastic. The bonus stage is really cool as well. So yeah. Like into the screen. Space Channel 5, yeah, I never played this back in the day, so I wanted to play it this year. It's good. I wouldn't say it's excellent, but obviously the surprise, the soundtrack is really good, which obviously that's the whole point of the game. And the rhythm game mechanics are actually really well done. I didn't know what to expect as far as how it works. But yeah, the up, down, left, right, chew, chew, chew. It's cool. And randomly, I'm just going to put it next to here. Spoilers. I don't know if you're already aware of this. Michael Jackson is actually in the game, and it's not like a parody. It's actually him. Like they got the license and everything, so that's bizarre. But yeah, good game. Glad I played it. But I don't know why I didn't play it back in the day. Just didn't see it on the shelves, I guess. But yeah, another good old Dreamcast classic. Oh no, right. This probably might be the worst game this year, Spookware, because basically, like, so that just recommended this another like indie horror with some comedy in it, and you basically play a skeleton and you go. It's like point and click adventure with some really interesting mini games which are cool at the start. I was like, oh, this is cool, man. There's some good bits in this, and the world building is reasonable. The comedy's a bit hit and miss, like a lot of games. But the reason it's in here is you're like. It's not said this anywhere on the Steam page. It's just called Spookware, the game. Basically, there's nothing, no like other bits of wording. You get to the end of like chapter 3, and then it's like it ends on a completely random area where it's no climax at all, and it just says, oh, sorry, wait until chapter 2 comes out, and you're like, what? Or chapter B or whatever. And then when you go to the store, it will cost money when that finally comes out. Like, oh, thanks a lot. I've just paid full price for a game. I think that was more than like Dreadex the Hunt. And you play a relatively short game, and then at the end it's like, oh, thanks, now you have to pay to get the next bit. It's like, Jesus Christ, at least put in the Steam page, Spookware Episode 1 or something. So yeah, I have to hammer that in the review, because I hate that. How could you do that? So yeah, never gonna play the rest of that. Okay, Stories Untold. Yeah, this is a bit. There's some good bits in this. Stories Untold. I think I had more hype for it than it warranted. It's like 4 anthology kind of stories of horror that tie together, but there's a really lengthy text adventure stuff at the beginning, which is just not good. Like, it's building up something fine, but that would probably put enough people off that we should never play the rest of it. It gets better, obviously. There's some quite good horror, especially in the last episode, but I don't know, I just never really felt it. That part really hit me, especially when you're streaming. You're like, oh, I'm streaming a text adventure for like an hour. It's like, this is not exactly the plan. It's not like Nier, where that's actually good fun. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing the way that went. Okay, so Stormblood. Yeah, so this is I mean, probably just worth playing. I don't think so. Yeah, it's definitely below Shadowbringers. Stormblood is a shame because it's like, oh, you're loving FF14, and this is the Asian like samurai expansion. It's like, holy crap, that's like right up my alley. This is gonna be the best one. But everyone warned me ahead of time. It's like, it's not as good as the others, and unfortunately, it isn't. Yeah, this might actually be the weakest expansion. It's definitely like ARR. It shows that it's no guarantee that just putting in good characters in a good setting will make it good. You have to write things, certainly pace things really well. And a lot of the areas in Stormblood are just like deserts and kind of less interesting areas. Like there's not much going on in them, and that really hurt it. I think the locations is the thing that really hurt it. And obviously, once you complete the main story and the patch content is actually a lot better. I really like the patch stuff. Some of the story stuff in that is back up to the level you'd expect. But yeah, especially considering, thematically this should have been the best one. It really isn't up to that. The raids are really good though. That's the one I'm currently playing. But that's kind of good throughout the entire game. Tasmania, the Master System, another platform Master System. Yeah, a solid game. Let me just. The thing that makes it really good, Tasmania, is loads of things can one-hit kill you in these old games, but because you're Taz, obviously if you're spinning, you just kill everything. So you have a kind of get-out-of-jail card as Taz, which is good. It's obviously thematically makes sense and it actually helps for the gameplay a lot. So yeah, good game. Nothing very special and obviously short enough that I was easily able to complete it. But yeah, it's just a good laugh. I wouldn't say go out and get it right now, but good. Oh, Tome, yeah. So this is another indie game because you can see from the thing, the whole game is in black and white. This is a hard one, man. I don't know. Probably worth playing. I don't know. It's probably not. If you get it for free on Game Pass, you would. But basically, the idea of the game is you're a photographer and you get given missions like, oh, can you give me a photo of this? Which is cool on the surface. I love it in games like I think they did it in Breath of the Wild where they say, here's the area you should get a photo of. Go off and do it, and the game works out if you did it right or whatever. That's good, but it can't carry an entire game. You're just doing that for quite a long time. There's like 4 or 5 areas. And although they get a bit harder, it never really progresses anyway. Like what you have to do is not more interesting or more difficult. So it's kind of like okay, that's fine, but yeah, not hugely good in any way really. Oh, Trine 3. I don't know. This might even be excellent. I really enjoyed Trine 3. This is a very big surprise because Trine 2 and 4 are known to be amazing, but when Trine 3 came out, they said this is basically a 3-player where each of you plays a different class, like a thief, a mage, and a fighter, and it's a platformer, and you all have to collaborate, and it's really cool. It's like Portal, where you can do really weird things and beat puzzles the way they're not supposed to. You do that all the time, and it's fun. In 2 and 4, it's in 2D, and it works so well. They really refined that formula, and it's a really long game as well. You get an insane amount of game for your buck. But Trine 3, they wanted to do it in 3D, and obviously that creates a lot of problems because you're kind of trying to beat puzzles in 3D, so it can be a lot more glitchy and things going wrong. And so they said in the reviews they trashed it and said, oh, they couldn't do it in 3D, so they went back to 2D. It's actually amazing. I was really happy with Trine 3. There's problems with the 3D. Obviously, where you jump, like the depth perception makes it a lot harder than it was in the other one for precision jumps. And what you're trying to do, collaborate in 3D, is a lot harder to arrange. But yeah, still an amazing game. I'm shocked at how good that was. We almost didn't buy it because of the reviews, but yeah, brilliant game. 3-player game, a very good one. Trine 1. I don't think that was quite as good. Obviously, the thing that hurts this game is we played them in reverse order. So we played 2 and 4, then 3, and then 1. So playing that, obviously, you're used to all of the mod cons in 2 and 4. So when they're not there and you're trying to use them, it's like, that's annoying but it's not their fault because they released that like 10 plus years ago probably. So yeah, good game, but it's difficult to review it higher than that because it loses a lot from the other sequels, obviously. So yeah, not much to say there. Umuragi Generation. I really like this game. This is how you do a photography game correctly. So this is a first-person like 3D. You're like a reporter in the future, and really cool, like almost like cyberpunk visuals. And you basically get told, take photos of this, but it's not even like specific areas. It's like, oh, you want to get a photo with like 6 penguins in it, or 3 posters in it, or whatever. The missions are cool and they're always interesting, and just the environments to like look at are really cool and kind of off the wall. I don't know, the vibe is really cool. Definitely watch a video of this game just to check out Umuragi Generation. I love it. And the last level is really confusing and interesting compared to the others. So yeah, very very cool. That's how you do a photography game. Unreal Life. Oh, that's a difficult one. This is cool. Another one where I got a random tip saying, "Oh, you should check this game out." It's another 2D platformer that is like puzzle platformer, much more puzzle based, and you got quite a bit of dialogue. Not much like jumping around trying to like survive hazards or whatever, but cool story. Like this one of those a bit like Persona where you can actually do it wrong and like fail the investigation or whatever and just lose the game. But it's difficult to explain, but really good like sort of inside your own mind aesthetics where you're seeing really weird visuals and they're going through a trauma and things like that. Yeah, Unreal Life is great. I don't think it's excellent, but it's a long game and it only gets good like in a serious way towards the end where you start getting all the actually understanding what's happening. But yeah, great game. I enjoyed that. Very original game, like from the art style and what is the story it's telling as well. Right, Vomitorium. Yeah, not a massive fan of this. Vomitorium is probably the game we spent the most time just wandering around aimlessly, not knowing what to do in. It's really cool, old school art. It's kind of like Beksinski, if you know what that is. It's like a very alien horror creatures, almost like what do you call that? Um, Cthulhu, that kind of like really cosmic horror style creatures, and it's like Doom, where obviously it's a first-person shooter, but there's loads of large environments that you're trying to find one thing so you can progress because it's minor Metroidvania elements, and we were lost for ages, so it kind of drained my spirit that game. Whereas I think if you were on the right path, not as good as Chex Quest, yeah, because Chex Quest is here. No, Chex Quest, sorry, is here. But yeah, yeah, not as good as Chess. But yeah, it was a shame because I think if you got lucky or you're very good at intuiting where to go in games, you'd have a much better time of it because you wouldn't spend hours doing nothing. And the last one is Zone of Enders. Oh no, I can't believe how annoying Zone of Enders was. Like this is a game where it's like okay, it's Kojima made it. You're in mechs and you just do cool stuff, in a mech flying around shooting. And it's like yeah, okay, it starts out like oh, it's building up. We've got very basic abilities. We have to hide from enemies. We're picking up different weapons. And even then, I was like getting lost and things like that. Even quite a small area. And then it's like oh, you've got out of the starting area where you're on this like ring. It might be average, but it really killed me at the end. So you get off the starting area, you have to go up off the like Halo ring you start on. You do this like transition sequence where you're flying through this tunnel. You shoot some things. It's like, oh, there's a boss fight coming up. Cool. You have to fight like this emperor, whatever the main enemy is. But then you just beat it. And it's the end of the game. It's so weird. Just as it's getting started, you're like, oh, cool. We've got some abilities now. We have a bit more strategic options. Let's fight one of like 3 bosses in the game. And then it's like, oh, it's the end of the game. I was like, what? I can't believe it. Especially because people kind of not raved about it, but it's a known game that's supposed to be good. And it ends like so quickly. It's crazy. It's like Act 1 is complete and then you're done. It's like, oh. So unless there's some secret where you have to like finish it in the right way to get the rest of the game, I don't know, it's just terrible. That really annoyed me. So yeah, so I've actually got Zone Enders 2 because I bought it before knowing that. So hopefully that's good. Ah, we did it. So yeah, Panzer Saga is probably here because I don't know why I forgot I finished that. I guess I just did it. But yeah, so there we go. So that is my entire Game of the Year stream. I thought I'd add in all of the other games just to make it a bit more of a lengthy one this year. But yeah, brilliant. Thank you everybody who's been watching this year, by the way. It's been very cool. Obviously, Steve, the Ledge Build is a hero with Frogger. Um, but yeah, obviously we're back for a lot more this year as well. So not much else to say other than to say thank you very much for watching, and we'll catch you next time on Channel Icon. Bye.